I'm here to tell you today that everything that you've been asking for as it concerns your condition is in your power to change. When God created man, He created him with His Spirit. And in that Spirit contains the substance of all life. So He didn't form any of us without the ability to change our physical condition. But that requires us understanding what that Spirit is. We've heard so many different people talk about the Spirit and that the words that Jesus speaks is Spirit. But what does that really mean? And how can that change my physical condition? It is the Spirit who gives life. The flesh profits nothing. The words I speak to you are spirit and they are life. Those words that He was speaking to His disciples and to the people that heard Him were not from this dimension. When I talk about this dimension, I'm talking about your physical substance, the material that you operate in every day, that you think is your reality. Jesus is telling you that's not your reality. And if anything that I say to you today will help you separate your belief that this material realm that you've given so much reality to is not real, then it's going to help you change your condition. Listen, you have over 100 trillion cells in your body. That's more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy. This skin that covers all of these cells is like a live petri dish. You know what a petri dish is? That's what science uses to measure bacteria. You are a live organism with all of these cells that are changing all the time. Nothing is static. Everything is moving all the time. So in this physical body that you call real, there is a dynamic flow of energy coming from the spiritual realm all the time. And you can choose what to believe all the time. It's up to you. That energy that we call spirit that's on the inside of you chooses what to believe and what not to believe. That act of choice, which is your free will, creates this world that you live in. From this world that you operate in, you determine what is real and what is not real. And you get your justification and verification from others that you have in your world. So the people that you have in your world system that justify or condemn you is because you have created this whole scene. Jesus is saying, look, only the words that I speak have life. Only the words that I speak are real. So everything else in the flesh, in the material, is not profitable for you to understand the spiritual realm. So the minute you start to separate your identity from this physical world that you've created, Jesus starts to speak to you. And He starts to speak to a different being, because this being is not attached to this physical world that they've created. The problem that I find with most people is when they want change, they don't realize that they have to change before there's change. In other words, you can't change material things by other material things. It requires spiritual to change physical. The Bible says He created things from the spirit realm. Everything comes from the invisible realm that we see with our physical eyes. Originally, the first Adam saw the spiritual realm. That's why when he fell with his sin, he separated himself from God by disobeying him. That broke that connection with his ability to understand and walk in the spiritual realm, walk with God in the cool of the evening. The Bible says his eyes were opened, and when his eyes were opened, his glory left his body. He saw that he was a naked physical being because he chose to eat from the knowledge of good and evil. That sin consciousness, that physical eyes being opened so that he could recognize his mortality, is the sin consciousness that people are born into every day, all children. Their brain waves operate in what's called theta. That's like sleeping with your eyes open. That's a hypnotic state, that what you observe in your atmosphere, in your environment, around you, your parents, your friends, your siblings, all of that requires you just to be totally in observation mode. And you're receiving that information into this brain, into this mind that has no information in it except the spirit where it comes from. So now it's learning a different language, now it's learning a different culture, now it's learning a different way to behave, now it's learning new sounds that move that person, move that little baby. They know the sound of their voice, of the parents. So all of this frequency, all of this vibration starts to build the character of that mentality. And when I say character, I'm talking about how they behave, how they respond, because that's what they learn. So by the time a child is 6 years old, they are formed. The Jesuit priest said way back in the early 1800s, you give me a child from the time of birth to 6 and I'll show you the man. And that's what they do. They program those children to believe that culture, that doctrine, that theology. So that child has adopted that way of life because he was programmed from that age. They understood that. And that's what happens to all of us. They form this sin consciousness from the first Adam when they're born into this planet. So we automatically think that this world around us is real. We automatically think that what people are doing, that's the way you have to behave. We automatically think that if you don't feel good, you have a pain, you have to go to a doctor, because that's the culture we learn. Jesus is saying the flesh profits nothing. If the flesh profits nothing, that means there's not anything in this material world that we've created by our belief that can change our condition. That's what I said. You can't change the physical with the mentality of the physical.